It's time for another 22 Creedmoor build with Stiller actions, this time a lightweight build. Hey guys, Gavin here from UltimateReloader.com. 22 Creedmoor is an extreme 22 cal varminting cartridge, and we're huge fans here on the channel. We've had multiple features. You're going to want to check out our first build that we did with the Stiller Predator action. We put it in a heavy foundation stock. We had a longer barrel. We had a really light sort of bench-oriented trigger, bench rest trigger, and that rifle is awesome. But for hiking in the hills and for shooting rock chucks or something like that, maybe going coyote hunting, you got a lot of hiking to do, a lighter weight rifle is definitely going to be a huge asset. So this is the latest build. This is pretty exciting. So this is basically centered around the Stiller Wombat action. This is a lightweight stainless steel skeletonized action. It comes in at 23 ounces. This is really a nice looking action. The finish on it is just absolutely impeccable. It's available in long action Magnum, short action Magnum, or short action 308 bolt face, which of course is what we've got here for this build. Comes with the 20 MOA rail. The recoil lug is pinned, and so is the 20 MOA rail for our scope. So everything's going to stay in its proper orientation. Okay, so for tooling, we're going to use the same, actually we have used, I already have the barrel chambered here, the Manson 22 Creedmoor reamer. This is the Sammy spec, and then I've got a variety of go and no-go gauges here. We've got a proof 20-inch 1-in-7 twist barrel from OTM Tactical. I just got an email. OTM Tactical is now carrying custom rifle barrels. They've got proof barrels. They've got a whole bunch of stuff. Triggers, actions, stocks. And if you use the UR5 discount code, you can get 5% off. So go over to otmtactical.com and check out some stuff for your next build. Okay, so the reason for 1-in-7 is I wanted to compare 1-in-8, which is what we used for the Stiller Predator build, and 1-in-7 to see if we were going to be able to spin up some of those heavier bullets that require a faster twist rate. Better with the 1-in-7 twist, and are we going to overspin it? I guess we're going to find out. This is also a shorter, more handy configuration for use with a suppressed configuration on the rifle, and so I think that's going to be a great thing to experiment with here, and a really good counterpoint, a complement really, to the other rifle that I built from scratch. We've got the Hawkins Hunter DBM. This thing is super cool. It's got this mag release here that is down in the trigger well, so you're not going to accidentally actuate that when you're out in the field. It's very lightweight, precision machined, machined from billet aluminum. Same with the Hunter mag. This is going to hold 4 rounds of 22 Creedmoor, and then we can also pop in a larger capacity AICS magazine, depending on what we're doing. If we're going to be just, you know, kind of lightweight, slim profile hunting, or if we want to pop in a 10-round mag and have more capacity, that sort of thing. We've got the Bix & Andy Tac Sport X trigger. I've used this before in builds. Really nice trigger. Bix & Andy has the ball trigger system, which is a patented mechanism. We just published a story recently comparing a whole bunch of different Bix & Andy triggers, showed the internals, put them on Trigger Scan. If you're curious about a really high quality trigger from Austria, you're going to want to check out that feature from Bullet Central that we did. Okay, and then the stock. We just did a dedicated video on this with John Kyle Trout. This is the Foundation Gideon. This stock is something truly special. It's not like any other stock out there, and it's got a proprietary construction that really exhibits a lot of the same characteristics as a classic Foundation stock, but in a real legitimate lightweight form factor. We've got 2 Arca rails on here. We've got a rear for use on the tripod and a front for use with a bipod. This rifle is going to be absolutely amazing. I just have to say that. Okay, and then we've got the Leupold Mark V HD 5-25 by 56. This is one of our favorite scopes. I'm planning to use this out to distance, hence using a little bit more heavy-duty scope on it. But we could also pop on a real lightweight scope if we really did want to get down to a minimal weight configuration. So that's the components for this build. Okay, so there's a reason I'm up here at my mountain shop and standing in front of the Precision Matthews TL1660. It's because this is such a short barrel that I figured I wanted a 6-jaw chuck to use with this so that I could hold on to the muzzle end and to the breech end and then use this barrel extension. But I can't use the barrel extension until I thread the muzzle. So it was a little too short to do that down at the other shop with the other lathes. So I started on the muzzle end. I used a tapered bushing that I have that matches essentially the taper of the barrel. And what I like to do here is I started by parting off the unused section of the barrel. In fact, it says right here, remove this portion, right? Proof 224, 1 in 7. I've got my details. If this was for a customer, I'd probably give this back to them just for reference, right? So we parted off, and that parting distance is strategically chosen so that I can have my 620 length on the tenon portion and then leave about 0.1 to 0.125, so about 1/8 of an inch of stainless between where the muzzle is going to be and the carbon wrap portion. And so those proportions look nice, and it's a real straightforward and easy thing to do. Beyond that, pretty much a traditional muzzle threading job. We face it, zero the DRO, and then keep doing turning passes here until we're down to the appropriate diameter for 5/8 24 threading. Cut the thread relief on the inboard and outboard sides, and then do a progressive set of threading passes until we're at the perfect pitch diameter, 0.595 inches, and double check that with a thread protector. It should have a very, very slight amount of play to it, right? It's better to have a little bit excessive play. You need strength in your threads than to have it be tight. Absolutely don't want that, right? And that's why the pitch diameter is such a critical measurement, and then that validation activity, right? So once I threaded the muzzle, I could get this barrel extension threaded on the end. And this gives me enough length to go all the way through. When we're chambering, we're either going to be using pressure flush, or we're going to need to blow compressed air through the entire barrel to get all the chips and oil out. This time I didn't use the pressure flush system. I used a proprietary reamer cleaning solution that I have, and that worked really well. So we spin the barrel around, put it back in the lathe, and then it's time to address the breech end. Now, what Stiller calls out is an unthreaded major diameter portion, and then a thread relief, and then the threads. And this time I tried something a little bit different. I just did a standard threading and a standard thread relief, because since this is pinned, the recoil lug is going to be located perfectly, and then we've got complete thread engagements. And what I like to do, my personal preference, is to have the shoulder and to have the threads center everything up. Really, the shoulder essentially does the squaring, and then the threads do the compression and center it up. And so so far this has worked really, really well. Basically dialed in the barrel to within about 1/1000th of an inch. Did my pre-drill so I could get my indicator in there to the lands and grooves. Got the barrel dialed in to 1/10,000th of an inch. And then with a single point boring bar, bored the walls of the pre-drilled area perfectly true. Then turned the tenon, thread relief, and then threaded the tenon. There's also a counter bore here, so I cut that and then fit the action to make sure that it was going to fit all the way, and then also that the bolt would drop so that we know that we have the right amount of end play, right? So this is sort of a Cliff's Notes version of the chambering process that I went through here. Then it's time to start the reaming process. And with incremental plunges, we get to, say, within 10,000ths of an inch of the final reaming depth. Check it with a slip over ring and a go gauge, kind of like what Bruce Tom showed me in the video that you're going to want to look at, chambering a rifle barrel. In fact, it was also a proof, and it was also a 22 Creedmoor. How ironic. That one was for Peter Milan and of Impact Shooting. Really good video. So we take a depth measurement, and I've calculated where I need to be at with my go gauge, given the length of the ring, went the extra distance, and everything hit on absolutely perfect. I screwed on the action, go gauge, go. No go, no bolt drop, all totally good. Then I do a little chamfer at the entrance of the chamber and make sure that everything is aesthetically how I want it to look, and remove the barrel from the lathe, and that's where it sits now. So because I don't have a laser engraver up here, what I'm going to do is put the rifle the rest of the way together. And then later when I'm down at my main shop downtown, we'll do the engraving of the barrel details on the barrel shank here. So that's what I'm going to do next, is going to be to put the rifle the rest of the way together, and then we'll see the completed project. So for the assembly, I used a couple really nice tool fixtures. One is the Short Action Customs modular barrel vise with their full set of bushings. This is a 1.2 inch shank, so I used those inserts here, wrapped it with a little bit of drywall tape, got the action clocked in the barrel vise, and then clamped it down. 70 foot-pounds, torqued it down, did my go and my no-go, and everything landed perfectly there, which is great. Obviously, that's what you want. And then I got out the Aero Products rock vise. This thing is just amazing. Literally, every partner that I've had come from a company in the firearms industry that has seen this has said, I need one of those. So I used that to clamp onto the Picatinny rail, which I installed while the barrel was still in the SAC modular barrel vise. Once we had a pick rail, we can use either pick or ARCA on the rock vise. Held on to the action with the pick rail to hammer in the trigger pins. What a nice way to do that. Hammering them in from the side, using a roll pin holder to get them started, and then finishing with an 1/8 inch punch. And got the barreled action ready to roll. I did run into an issue there. For some reason, the action screw on the front was a little bit long. I actually had the bolt, the lug hit just a little bit right here. So I actually had to change chucks on the 1660 just so I could use a 5C collet. It's a really elegant way to shorten screws, is to push the screw through a collet so that the threaded end is protruding, and then I used a parting blade to shorten it so that I wouldn't fold over any of the threads on the very end. Once we took off, I think it took off 40 thousandths of an inch from the action screw, everything came together perfectly, no interference, and it looks great. So last thing to do was to put on the Leupold Mark V HD. We've got a rifle that just feels right to me. For a 22 Creedmoor, it just feels like it's the perfect weight, and I think this is going to be absolutely a great rifle in the field. So the next thing I'm going to do is going to be to go to 100 yards and get this baby sighted in. So when it came time to shoot this rifle, I started at 100 yards prone right behind the shop here. And I went through some factory ammunition options, and I found that they just were not shooting real well. We're talking about over an inch, sometimes around 1.5 inches even, which for a custom rifle like this is just clearly not good enough. Now, I've kind of been expecting this with 22 Creedmoor. Correct me if I'm wrong here. If you've had similar experiences, let me know. 22 Creedmoor pushes everything to the max. And this is not like a 6BR or 6-dasher type of situation where things are just inherently accurate, just really easy going, quick precision kind of a thing. We're pushing these cartridges and these bullets to the absolute max. I've got a 7-twist barrel here. We've got a highly overbore, high-octane cartridge. And my results, some of them were pretty bad. Like here's one of the hand loads here. 39 grains of H4350 with a 69 grain Sierra HP BT, right? 1.5 inches. And the factory ammunition was approximately along those lines, kind of looked like thermal stringing with the carbon barrel. And again, just like what I found when I was shooting 6.5 Creedmoor recently, switching bullets did the job. This is really interesting. So for instance, I tried the 60 grain VMAX. I was looking at different weights, looking at just thinking about different bullet stability phenomenon, that kind of thing. I'm still at just over an inch with that load. Everything came together when I went to Hornady's 75 grain AMAX. These are older bullets. I had them on the shelf. Really amazing. Here we go. 5 shots, 100 yards, went into .480. So now we're sub half MOA. And then I did some more shooting. 4 shots, 100 yards, went into .7. But then the next 4 shots at 100 yards with the Maverick suppressor went into .319, right? And I'm shooting 4-shot groups there because I've got a 4-shot internal magazine with the Hawkins Precision Hunter mag, right? So this is just a quick sampling of results. literally going from this to going to that, right? And it wasn't as much about powder charge this time as it was about selecting that magic bullet. So now we've done multiple 22 Creedmoor builds on the channel, different twist rates, different barrel lengths, different fundamental setups, right? We did target kind of almost bench-oriented gun initially with the Stiller Predator. Now with the Wombat, we've got a really nice lightweight setup with this Foundation Gideon. This package is absolutely awesome, and now I have a load that's going to work for me. So what we did to test that in kind of a hunting context, let's say we were deer hunting with this 22 Creedmoor, is we went up to the 511 yard range that we used for our 511 rimfire special, and I decided to take 4 subsequent shots at approximately the size of deer vitals and see what would happen there. This is what happened. Easy peasy. So in the end, it turns out this rifle really does shoot, and it shoots really well. And we're continuing to do more stories, and we're gonna have more resources coming out with 22 Creedmoor because I think this is a fascinating cartridge. It is a cartridge that lives on the edge of performance, right? So you have to be a little bit intentional about your twist rate, about your load components, which bullet you're gonna select, and ultimately what you're gonna use it for. For me, I think of this as a rock chuck cartridge and a coyote cartridge, because those are two of the things that we do around here, where a 22 mega magnum velocity kind of cartridge makes a lot of sense. Does not recoil much, right? Now components and ammunition are readily available for 22 Creedmoor. So this has been a really fun build. I really like the way that this rifle turned out. What I'd like to know from you are, what are your experiences with 22 Creed and fast twist rates? Specifically, what twist rate are you running in your 22 Creed? Whether it be a factory rifle or one that you had built custom. I'd like to know. So share your results with 22 Creedmoor. Share specifically what twist rate you're running and what bullets are working well for you. Drop a comment and we'll start that discussion down in the comments section. Don't forget, we've got the full article if you click on that first link in the video description. That's all. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're watching Ultimate Reloader on TV and want to take advantage of free resources, exclusives, and hot deals, just hold your camera phone up to the QR code, tap on the link, fill out the information, boom, you're getting Ultimate Reloader emails. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. Thanks again for watching.